Hey everybody, this is Ben coming to you from Mitch's basement. He's keeping me trapped down here until I finish editing this podcast. Just a heads up, we recorded ourselves talking about 3 different movies this episode, but decided to split it up into separate episodes because it went on for 4 fucking hours and nobody has time for that. So if you're wondering why the introductions are a little weird, that's why. Anyway, please enjoy us talking about First Cow. Love you.
Do I sound good?
Yeah, perfect. We can get started then. You guys cool with me introducing us again?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second episode of Blockbuster, where 3 dudes talk about movies that we like and sometimes don't like. Anyway, my name is...
It's a subjective art form, so
yeah,
we're all learning here.
That's what I'm told. I'm told that it's subjective. My name is Ben. I'm one of the 3 hosts.
My name is Mitch. I am also one of the 3 hosts.
And my name is Lucas. I am also one of the 3 hosts.
Fantastic. So this episode, we each chose a movie that the other 2 haven't seen for them to watch. And the 3 movies, well, I guess we could just introduce them as we talk about them. And I think since the movie I recommended, First Cow, has the word first in it, and also because you guys can't choose any movies that start with a letter other than S.
True. It's true. It's a fact. We should talk about First Cow first then. Would you like to hear my subtitle for the film?
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so basically every episode for each film we watch, I've created a subtitle. Film : subtitle.
The Mitch marquee.
Yeah, exactly. What sells it? First Cow: why oat milk is better for your health.
That's kind of a deep meme.
Yeah, but we'll elaborate.
I think I know.
If they had just milked oats instead.
Oh god. Okay. First Cow. I'm really excited to talk about this movie because First Cow is a movie I really like, and also it's directed by an artist who I admire a lot, Kelly Reichardt. She directed it, wrote it, and edited it, as she does with a lot of her movies. And I love her style of filmmaking. It's extremely unique, and her process is also unique. In fact, the uniqueness in her process is what creates the unique feel of her movies. And you can't really talk about a Kelly Reichardt movie without talking about Kelly Reichardt herself. So I'd just like to start, before we get into the synopsis of it, by reading you a quote that I heard Kelly Reichardt say in an interview with the British Film Institute. She said, "I like chores. I like to film chores in process, and I like routine, and also that people are really built into their environments. You can find your way in by researching a place first." Her process includes a big focus on the scouting procedures and the research portions. In fact, she researches so much of her movies that you can almost call them documentaries in a way. Obviously, they're dramatized. That
it's historical, it's historical fiction. How about that?
Well, that's the thing, though. There's a lot in there that you have to go find out.
That's literally the definition of historical fiction.
Okay, well, fuck me, I guess. Look, you can either have history or you can have fiction. You can't have both.
No, fine. You win.
Okay, all right. The First Cow starts by introducing us to a character named Cookie, who is a cook and forager for a group of frontiersmen in the Oregon wilderness. Most of Kelly Reichardt's movies take place in Oregon. She's a big fan of the Pacific Northwest. Northwest? Yeah, Northwest?
Oh my god. West.
Yeah. What's his name? Cookie is walking through the forest foraging for food when he meets, in the middle of the night, a Chinese man named King Lu, referred to as Lu throughout the movie, who doesn't have any clothes on. And Cookie offers him a spot to stay at their camp, but he has to hide them from the rest of the people that he's traveling with because they're all brutish, hyper-masculine beast men, frontiersmen who fight each other for the last drop of whiskey in the flask. During the trip, Lou escapes and swims away from their camp.
And the first thing that hits me is it is beautifully shot. The Pacific Northwest, I'm partial to, but it's incredibly beautiful. I think the film seemed a little grainy to me, but I loved that aspect of it.
Kelly Reichardt has a background in photography, and she shoots everything on film.
Film grain. It's good stuff. serve it up, eat it for breakfast. Also notable, this is again in 4:3 aspect ratio.
Yes, I felt left out last time because y'all chose movies that were in 4:3, so I wanted to be included.
Which I think in this film, at least for me, how I analyze it is the 4:3 creates really tight compositions, and it seems like Kelly Reichardt really likes to get in and create that like closeness and sort of intimacy in
Yeah.
every shot.
Yeah, you notice Kelly Reichardt doesn't use a lot of camera movement. She instead focuses on compositions. That's just from her background in photography. But also, there is sort of like a cultural element in 4:3 aspect ratio, just feeling a little bit more like something you'd find in a scrapbook or a picture book. Anyway, the characters separate, Lou and Cookie finally gets to this fort where he uses the money that he got cooking for the group to buy a new pair of boots. He then goes to a bar to buy a whiskey. And another moment of characterization, he offers he just holds his hand out, which is full of coins, all the coins he has, to the bartender and asks him how much the whiskey is. And the bartender just takes it, implied that he's, a very trusting person. And that's just in Cookie's nature. He's immensely trusting. And then some dude comes in, tells him to look after his baby while he gets in a fight. And that clears the entire bar out, except for one person who's Lou. Lou's sitting there. And to keeping in form, and Kelly Reichardt's form of introducing characters really well, Lou takes the drink of the person who is sitting next to him and pours it into his drink and tops himself off.
I think this scene I have two things. One, Cookie, I thought it was Diego Luna for the first third of the film.
You thought it was who?
Diego Luna.
Who's Diego Luna?
He's an actor, but he looks so much like Diego Luna to me, for the first third of the movie. Okay, whatever. We'll do a side by side comparison. But anyway, the other thing is I think this scene kind of sets up Cookie and Lou's characters really well because one, Cookie is very nurturing, very motherly in how he talks to the kid and interacts with people. There's that gentleness throughout the film. And then Lou is a bit more of an opportunist, very much sees the world, sees opportunity where you find it. You find out he got in trouble with some people for various reasons. It's clearly he's not exactly shady or anything, but he's willing to do what it takes to put himself where he needs to be.
Honestly, I thought from the get-go he might be shady, solely because you start off with seeing the skull, so you know someone's going to die. Of course, hundreds of years have passed by, so everyone dies. But it feels like someone's going to die. The way that they encounter each other is, he said that he killed a Russian and that he's running away. And so, like you said, he does come up as an opportunist. And so, to me, I was getting very mistrustful vibes because, how did that last situation end? What was that last situation like? Also, another thing I wanted to say, the boots that Cookie got as he was walking in. There are a couple of comments about the boots a couple of times where I was like, oh, those are some nice boots. Oh, those are pretty polished boots. I think it was a great way to set up how tender Cookie is as a character, and also kind of gave me some questions about whether this was some queer codedness in Cookie's character that I could see in some of the movie, but was not 100% sure of. Also, they said the line "first cow."
Oh yes, that's the other character we're introduced to in the bar. In very screenwritery way, where they talk about this mythical first cow that's coming to the territory.
And that's when I said they said it.
That cow's name is Evie, apparently. Also, she mentioned in an interview that there's the shot where you're introduced to the first cow visually, where it's boated down a river. She said that on all the test days that they did that, there was fog, and it looked amazing having the cow come out of the fog. But then on the shooting day, they didn't have any fog, and they're a low
Aw.
budget fucking production, so they couldn't go back and do it again.
Still looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But that is my note for the beginning of the second act. But
So already in the first act, we're introduced to some themes that are going to permeate the movie, which are vague but present. Things like capitalism, exploitation, nature, and friendship. Those are sort of the main ideas that are introduced to us in the first act and are probably going to I mean, I've seen the movie, so I know they're going to be the rest of the movie. But and knowing Kelly Reichardt's propensity to characterize people via their environments, the setting is really notable, in my opinion, because it's set in like pioneer times, proto America, where there wasn't a currency, like the kinds of things that people used for currency back then, which are just arbitrary amounts of shiny metallic objects and shells, which people use. There's villages with like maybe 20 people in them. And they're all kind of scattered about, living in tents and rundown cabins and stuff. And industrialists are just showing up to start exploiting this land that has been untouched by people so far. And
untouched by the West.
Yes. That's an important distinction to make. So yeah, the Act 2, we could say, starts when
Can I interject? There's a really important moment for me.
Yeah.
Where so they're introduced at this like crossroads. They have this choice of Cookie's like, oh, I have a tent like a mile away, and then Lou is like, oh, well, I have a little spot about a mile away. Do you want to come help me drink this brew I have? And they're like, all right, this is like a crossroads for Cookie, because he's like doesn't really know Lou, but his trusting nature takes over, and so he does go to Cookie's or to Lou's hovel, which this scene I think is like super important for at least how I interpreted the film. Is in the hovel. They're all kind of they're doing different things. Like Lou's trying to be a good host. He goes out and starts chopping firewood. And I think the like really precious thing that happens here is Cookie starts sweeping. And it's like they fall into this domestic routine out of nowhere. Like it feels so practiced, like they've been a married couple for 50 years. And Cookie goes out and he grabs some flowers to put in. I'm like, bam, there we go. We have domesticity. And I think that's a big theme that I pulled from the film, was like this desire for the domestic, for the simple life and the comfort of home.
Yeah, I think it was like super sweet and tender. That scene spoke to me too, especially when he was sweeping and just kind of like, what can I do here to help out? And I think it's really fun because usually when we do see a period piece about, manifest destiny and the, colonization of the West of America, you usually see it through like an over masculized lens of like the cowboy, the rough rider, the lawless like man. So seeing this side of humanity within this period context was really cool to see. Also, as soon as he invited him to the hovel, I took down 2 notes. One, I said "gay shit?" ? And then Lou's gonna kill Figgis was also another thing that I was like, he's gonna kill him or get him killed.
Yeah, so. But both of you have touched on the undertones of gayness in the movie. That it's been talked.
Well, I just said domestic. It doesn't necessarily like, because I think that subtext is for sure there, and I think it's left to your interpretation for the most part in the film. But I think it's important to note that domesticity can be platonic, and like you can have tender, loving relationships, like male relationships in this time period. And I think that's also present, and I think that's also an interpretation, and neither is greater or lesser than the other. It just, I think it's worth noting.
I think you're absolutely right. To me, the gayest part is when they show up. Well, when Lou asks him to come over and polish off this bottle with him, That's dripping in innuendo, sticky innuendo. And then when they get there, they kind of like awkwardly sort of like shuffle around. They don't really know what to do with themselves. The body language is very much.
First date.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll also say I think another thing that like lends to this whole queer coded messaging is like they were talking about how where they're at in the West of the United States is a place where history has not caught up to them yet. They can still, figure out how they want to be ready for history to arrive to that area. And part of me was thinking, are they talking about this in a way of like, we can be ready to understand how we will be perceived once history comes into this area?
Yeah. That's
So
cool. There is a line that kind of echoes the sentiment you're talking about there, Lucas, where Lou says while they're traveling to Lou's cabin, he's resetting up some squirrel traps and picking up the squirrels that he caught, and he says something about like the history of where we're at right now is new. We need to take our chances and find this opportunity while it's here because the world's so new. And Cookie says, I don't know about that. It seems like it's really old.
Conflicting philosophies on
Yeah.
untouched nature or pristine nature, or like where Lou sees opportunity, something ripe for the taking. Cookie sees it as lived in, very matured. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. It's right there. I could sort of sense that you were working through that thought. You correct me if I'm wrong, Mitch, but like maybe that thought doesn't feel totally complete in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think that that's a consequence of the style of movie that this is. Oftentimes you'll feel that way with Kelly Reichardt movies where you're left in extended moments of contemplation where you're just fucking thinking really hard, trying to have a brain blast. Like, what does it mean? Just throw me a bone, and it won't answer your questions. You just you have to sit there and stew on it and become okay with not getting an answer.
That's interesting because I find it so much more serene than that experience. Like I feel like this movie was like a cigarette on the porch after dinner, just like
Oh,
this, like burning through it, just like enjoying the moment. Like that's kind of how I was vibing with it. But
to be honest, up until this point, and maybe even further down the line in the movie, I was like, "Oh my god, it's slow." I I love beautiful imagery. I love period pieces with amazing costuming. I love movies that take their time and enjoy slowness, monotony, regular ritual or regular daily stuff. But I was still like, I don't know if it's like my TikTok addicted brain, but I was just like, I need more. And it was hard to sit there and watch it up until a certain point, to be honest.
I get that. I totally get that. That's a so Kelly Reichardt is makes that's how all of her movies are. It's you could classify it as a genre as slow cinema, or it has been classified as a genre as slow cinema, which is the idea that you hang on shots for too long, quote unquote, too long. And the idea is you're not focused on traditional narrative. You're trying to focus on other things, and you're giving the audience a lot of time to stew with their own thoughts and contemplate it while they're watching it. It gives you a lot to chew on.
I just found it, like, I guess since we didn't really talk about it at the top, like I really liked this movie. It was just, if I found it very sweet, like bittersweet, and I don't know. This is like why I love movies, honestly. Like this kind of film, I think is very up in my wheelhouse.
I figured
Um,
you would like it more than Lucas. But
And
what
you would be correct.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
we'll get to that. We'll get to the final ratings, but we should probably clip along to Act Two
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Okay, so they're at the cabin, right? And they've decided to kind of cohabitate and hang out. And Cookie makes mention of the fact that he wishes that they had some baked goods. They're talking about this cow, this cow that this wealthy industrialist from England has shipped all the way over. And it represents this limited resource, right? It's the first cow in this part of the country, and you can imagine all the things you'd be able to do with its delicious white milk. Like pour it all over your face or all over the face of your lover while you're in the bathtub.
Oh, no. It's so sweet. No,
It
don't
is a
do
very
it.
sweet cow. It's a very
It's
adorable.
a very sweet cow. Also, the way the cow is introduced at the start of the second act, it feels like a hero is arriving. Like
Yeah.
the vibe I got was very Captain Jack Sparrow arriving on this sinking ship
Yeah.
in Curse of the Black Pearl. That was just that. It just felt very that for me. I don't know. Maybe that's a shallow and stupid
Well,
take, but that was just my feeling.
How I feel about it is you have this tailor-made raft painted white, operated by a ferryman who's no doubt getting paid to transport a cow. And I think it is kind of a pervasive theme in the movie that value is ascribed by people. That the only reason this cow is notable is because some royal prick brought it here and people can make use of it as a limited resource, which is not how Cookie sees the world. Cookie is very much in tune with nature. He takes what he needs and he uses it to make something better than the sum of its parts. He's unobtrusive. He's a naturalist. Whereas this wealthy industrialist is shipping a fucking cow across the ocean, carting it across the entire goddamn country just so he can have some milk in his tea, you know? But yes, the way it's introduced, I think, is fantastic. Very swashbuckling. Just kidding. The music is it's all very folky and lovely and gentle.
Yeah, a lot of mandolin. Like most of the instrumentation in the score is mandolin, which is like very folksy.
And there's never like complete songs either, really. There's just like little musical stings that
just some motifs. Yeah, just little motifs. Very nice.
Which I think is cool. So there, Lou and Cookie are talking about this cow, and Cookie makes mention of the fact that he knows how to bake, and if they could get the milk from the cow, they could bake some oily cakes. Oily cakes being a old school frontiersman dish that Cookie cooks.
He also said he wanted to make cookies. Cookie wants to make cookies. We don't see it, but I thought it was funny.
Lucas, did you mute yourself?
Yeah, just so that my clicking wouldn't be annoying for editing.
What are you
He's
clicking?
playing Black Myth Wukong.
No, I'm just making sure that I am pulling up like the cast of First Cow. Continue.
So Lou cooks up this brilliant plan to sneak over to the industrialist's estate, and with a bucket and a stool, he'll keep watch while Cookie milks the cow. They'll take the milk back to their shack and make oily cakes with it, which is what they do. They sneak over there in the middle of the night. Cookie hoists Lou up into a tree. He tells him he'll give him an owl sound. Let me see if I can do it. Woo! How's that? How's that good?
That was great.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, if you were in the tree, they'd be like, there's a fucking guy in that tree pretending to be an owl.
I have to say, at this part, just like Cookie whispering sweet nothings to this cow.
I know.
Beautiful. This is how I talk to my dogs, to my chickens. Like, he is treating this cow with the utmost tenderness and respect. The animals who produce food should be treated.
I heard your husband didn't make it. I'm sorry to hear that.
Like, how thoughtful.
You have a beautiful place here. It's just so nice. He's just
so nice.
It's like the cow just moved into his suburb, like in his cul-de-sac, and he like wants to, he just brought over a fruit cake and is just like, hey, it's nice to meet you. This is me and Lou. We're just gonna take some of your milk.
Yeah, and he pats the cow and pets it and makes sure he's not scaring it. Also, good time to shout out John Magaro. I should have looked up the pronunciation of his last name. He's the actor who portrays Cookie. Excellent performance. I think he did a great job of making Cookie adorable and precious, and I just want to give him a hug and be his friend. He's great. Anyway, they take the milk and run it back to the shack where while Lou is washing himself, he arrives. It's composed. I love the composition of this scene in particular, and I don't really know why. I love it so much though. There's a windowsill. He comes back and there's just a biscuit waiting for him on the stand that Cookie has made for him. And it's so lovely. It's got steam coming off of it. And Lou takes a bite out of it, walks into the cabin and immediately says, "How much do you think somebody would pay for this?" Implying that they should
monetize.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta get that bag.
He's like, Cookie, have you ever heard of cryptocurrency?
Yeah. Let me show you my MLM.
How much Ethereum do you think we can get for these biscuits?
It is cool how in this conversation about monetizing the biscuits, how it could fetch a hot penny, and then like how that could bring attention and that could be risky, like how something so small, an oily biscuit with some milk, can be something that has such high stakes. And I think at this point when they start doing this stuff is when I started to feel okay with the pacing and started to get more engaged with the movie, to be honest.
It's what you just said is notable because Kelly Reichardt has said before in the past that she makes movies about characters that don't have a safety net. She says she likes to make movies about people who are one bad decision away from ruining their entire lives. And she describes First Cow as small decisions with huge consequences,
100%.
which is true. Like, I mean, all they're doing is taking a little bit of milk and they're turning it into something beautiful that everyone can enjoy, but they have to be secretive about it. Otherwise, this rich industrialist prick will leverage his, firearms and capital to ruin their lives.
Authority through violence.
Yeah, I think it's a cool thing you just picked up on, this struggle between preciousness and viciousness, which is it's evident in nature all over the place, especially to humans. Humans love friend-shaped things. We love bears. We want to hug bears, but bears are lethal. They'll fucking kill us. And there's always this balance of like, oh, nature is beautiful and precious and should be preserved, but also it's dangerous and it's got teeth, and we need to be be careful. I don't know. Is that a pretentious thought?
No.
Well, Lucas is
Lucas
immense.
He's on the fence.
No, I get what you're saying, because it is, I mean, in the context of the movie, yes, I completely understand yeah.
Okay, all right. So they decide to monetize their process, and they bring the oily cakes to town and immediately sell out. Immediately. In fact, they sell them for 5 shillings, and the last dude offers them 8 shillings just so he can have it and everyone else can't. They then go back, steal more milk, repeat the process again. The narrative functions kind of like a fairy tale. It's a very simple structure. They sell the oily cakes and make some money off of it. They make a lot of money off of it.
But the second time, there's the kid who takes care of the cow for I can't remember the big shot's name, but
Chief Factor.
Chief Factor. Yeah, he works for Factor and takes care of the cow. And he doesn't get an oily cake. And you can just feel this like tension, like why are we focused on this kid? This kid's gonna be important. Like either he's gonna suss it out or something.
Well,
There's this
he doesn't get one because he's in line, and the guy behind him presses past him to get one, and it's the last oily cake.
Yeah, you're like, I wrote that my note is a guy who cares for the cow thinks they are sus. So this cycle repeats, right? And then the third time we get they get the like what's up from somebody. They're like, hey, Mr. Factor, make sure you save one of them cakes for the big man in town. And so Chief Factor or whatever his title is.
Again, consistent with form, Chief Factor introduced brilliantly. We start with a shot of a guard who's sleeping, and then he gets poked in the neck with a cane, and this dude with a top hat, played by, hold on, let me pull up the cast real quick. I forgot his name.
Toby Jones.
Toby Jones. Toby Jones. Absolutely excellent British aristocratic industrialist vibes. Pokes him with his cane and says, "Look alive, son," and then walks into town as he surveys everybody around him as if he owns the place. It's excellent. He walks straight up to the two gentlemen, Lou and Cookie, and asks them for one of their cakes. They make him one, which the process is, it looks so fucking delicious. Like they take the dough in these 2 spoons and drop it into a cast iron pan filled with boiling hot oil, and it just like sizzles, and there's like little tendrils, kind of like funnel cake. Oh my god, it looks so fucking delicious. Anyway, they pull it out. Cookie lathers it in honey and hands it off to what's his name?
Factor.
Factor. Okay, hands it off to
This
Factor.
episode is brought to you by Factor.
Not sponsored.
This episode is brought to you by honey.
I'll also say
bees.
those.
This podcast is brought to you by bees.
The oily cakes I don't think would be tasty. I mean, they're like essentially flour and oil, like a biscuit. But then this has a little bit of milk in it, which to our standard tastes, I feel like we'd be like, what the heck is this? This is nothing. But because of the lack of ingredients and resources and familiarity, it becomes something that is like,
yes,
basically like, I don't know, Wagyu steak out in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good detail to pick up on. Also, when Factor has a bite of it, his first reaction is it tastes just like home.
Milk.
Because they use the milk that he brought over to. There isn't like an assessment of quality in it. His like there would be in our society where you have access to basically every resource and you can just.
Another reason why it tastes like home is because the British are freaky and they should be lactose intolerant, but they decided to drink another species' milk that is produced for their children, and did that so much
You sound a little
they
salty.
evolved past it. Drinking milk as an adult is weird. I'm
saying just like tangent, but a lady at the restaurant I was at last night legit ordered a cup of milk.
Nasty.
She had to be like 30 something. And even her friend commented on it. She's like, "You're a milk drinker?" And I was like, God damn, yeah, you shame her.
Wait, well, hold up, Mitch. Are you also a milk purist? You shouldn't drink milk past the age of 20?
No, this is something I learned later in life. Hi, I'm Mitch, and I'm a former milk drinker. I don't remember exactly what the reason was, but I think it's once I had access to alcohol. I don't know. I stopped drinking milk.
Replace one vice with another.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, and then at a certain point, I just found it repugnant. I don't know. It just a switch flipped in my brain. I don't know.
That's weird. To be fair, like I think it's fair to eat in like baked goods. I think it is fine in cereal. I think it is fine as like, chocolate milk even. But like just pure milk as an adult.
Wait, milk makes cheese, right?
What?
Milk makes cheese, right?
Yes.
Oh, cheese also is fine.
Okay,
we're not talking broadly dairy. We're just talking a cold glass, 12-ounce glass of milk.
No shame for those who enjoy a cold glass of milk.
I'm not going to kink shame. So
yeah. Yes. So the industrialist comes back again to get another biscuit the next day, oblivious to the fact that they're using his milk, and then he asks the main character Cookie for a request. He asks him if he knows how to bake a clafouti,
which looks delicious.
Clafouti. Yeah, clafouti apparently is a French pastry. It's like a big pancake that you put fruit in.
It looks like a German pancake that you put fruit in, honestly.
and he says that he's going to have a general visiting, some sort of like war hero or something. I don't know. Um, it's not that important, but he says he's going to have this guy over, and this gentleman who he's hosting doesn't believe that you can have good baked goods on the frontier where they're living, and he wants him to make this man a clafouti because it's his favorite dish, and he would like to humiliate him.
Two things on this.
Yes,
One,
yes.
I loved the fact that Cookie was trying to find any excuse to not be able to make the clafouti of just like, oh well, we don't have this fruit and it's not in season and I don't have access to it. And Factor's just like, don't worry, I'll provide. Like you just bake it up for me, which I thought was enjoyable. The other thing is
Real quick, why do you think he did that? Why do you think he didn't want to make the clafouti?
Because
it
it's
was
like it's flying way too close to the sun. Like
yeah.
it's one thing to like, you know, bake these cakes on the DL, but then to like make a special, very particular French dish, which someone might know requires milk to make, and then like bring it to his house and be like, hey, guy I'm stealing from, here's that special thing you asked me for.
Plus, like, I think it was in this scene where Factor asked, like, how did he learn how to like bake and like Cookie makes up some story about being a baker in Boston and
You think he made it up?
oh, I thought he made it up and I thought that Factor no, I guess he was actually a chef because he knew how to make a clafouti.
Yeah.
Never mind that. Never mind. I retract that statement. Let's edit that out, boy.
but yes, yeah. No, Cookie does make mention that he learned how to bake from a gentleman in Boston, and the industrialist response is never heard of him, and then walks away.
Yeah, I think that's what made me think he was lying and getting caught, and that like he was flying too close to the sun. But maybe
Yeah.
he probably knew how to make it.
I think that's just kind of like a prick thing to say. Like, oh yes, I happen to know every baker in Boston, and I don't know this one, or something. I don't know.
I love how Factor is like the richest, like most high status person in this area, but he is still low status because he's the rich guy in the wilderness and he's trying to impress the other rich friends, and he has all the resources to do this, but he doesn't have the skill. So what does he have to do? Come back to the proletariat. Yeah,
Exactly. Yes. Cookie, for it is a shame that he is so eager to help because he's very easy to exploit, unfortunately.
that's what being nice does.
Yeah, exactly. It's a shame, really. And that I mean, there is like a conversation to be had how much Lou exploits him, because a lot of the bad decisions that are made are Lou's idea, but Cookie goes along with it. I don't know. That's a whole other conversation. Anyway,
Yeah, I think he's lured by the promise. Like he doesn't seem like at the beginning of the film like he has a lot of ambition for himself or maybe a lot of wants. Like he wants this domestic life, but the only time he starts talking about this future, this ideal future, is once he meets Lou. He starts talking about a hotel and a bakery. Like Lou teaches him kind of how to dream big and seize the moment, which I think is what compels him forward, even though he's nervous and it's out of character for him to be a liar and like, you know,
yeah. He also
whatnot.
there's a moment earlier on in the bar where Lou sort of teaches him to look out for himself, because in the bar, quick recap, Cookie's drinking whiskey at the bar. This big lad comes in, gets a drink next to him, starts getting harassed by one of the patrons. This gentleman who walked in, this big lad, came in with a baby, hands the baby to Cookie, who's standing right next to him, and says, "Keep an eye on her while I'm away." And then goes and just punches this dude who's harassing him right in the face and starts kicking the shit out of him. Then the scene transpires as it does. Lou invites Cookie back to his cabin, but Cookie says, "I can't go. I got to look after this baby." And Lou says, "Oh, the baby will be fine. It'll be
Yeah.
fine." and so they leave, and we don't really see what happens to the baby, but I guess it could be assumed that somebody took care of it. So yeah, I think there's something we said for Lou kind of introducing Cookie to like making the most of himself. But I also think you mentioned one of the things that Cookie says he wants to do with his life is open a hotel, and I think that's sort of like a metaphor for just wanting to take care of somebody else or take care of people.
Hospitality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I will say also, sorry, in this moment, something that that doesn't stay the same, but in this moment, Cookie is almost like oh gosh, what's the word? He's like blushing because he is getting invited to the wealthy man's house to bake for him, while Lou at this moment is thinking about what's next. What is the next opportunity?
yeah, that's kind of the mo for Lou, just constantly thinking about making more of that bag, baby. So yeah, they get the resources they need to make the clafouti. And one thing I think we should note is there's a scene where Cookie's cooking the clafouti at the cabin, and he's got like this little whisk that he's made by tying a bunch of sticks together. It's a really cool little device.
And it comes back later in Act 3.
They show up to this rich prick's house. They're having a conversation about punishing an insubordinate, whipping the shit out of some dude who was trying to mutiny this captain that factor has invited over.
As rich people do, just like, well, I think death sometimes is a perfect punishment. Like, oh yeah, yeah.
And it's a bit on the nose.
Oh, and while this is happening, there is like a shot where it's panning around the room, looking out at the windows at Cookie and Lou walking up to the house. And for me, the tension in this moment is just like, it's delicious, it's
Ooh,
thick,
yes.
it's juicy.
Yes. That Kelly Reichardt is a master of tension. Basically all the conflict in her movies is filled with tension. If you want to watch a movie that will fucking set your pants on fire with how tense it is, watch Night Moves. That movie, oh god, it almost stopped my heart. God damn. Anyway, so they enter the house and Cookie introduces them to his clafouti. It actually looks pretty good. I'll be honest, I think the oily cakes look better. I'd rather have an oily cake. Thoughts? No.
No,
That's
I'm
good
not
for
really
you.
I'm not really a confectionery guy anyway.
That's fair. Yeah. So yeah, he pops the lid on his clafouti and presents it. The captain is, I guess, impressed, but doesn't show it or whatever. Lou says a few things, and both of the rich pricks look at him like, "How dare you speak?" Because they're presumably racist. And before we move on with the plot, there's some there's Native American representation in this scene that I think is really cool. So, in the room are two Native American people who I guess are like consultants. They are people who know the area, who I assume Factor has hired for more information. I don't know. It's never explicitly said.
Yeah, some of them appear to be domestic workers for him, though. There's definitely a few people there that seem to work in his house.
Yeah, he's exploiting the local population of the natives for his own bullshit. But what's interesting to give you kind of an idea of the filmmaker Kelly Reichardt is, as part of her research for this film, which is a very important part of her process. She does a lot of research. Her and her crew went and spoke with a confederation of Native American tribes who live in Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, called the Grand Ronde, as a way to get more information about the Native American culture in that area at the time. The Grand Ronde actually supplied all the cedar capes and hats that are used in the movies, which you see throughout, and the cast and crew donated those to their museum afterwards. But also, they helped Kelly Reichardt find somebody who spoke their language. The language is called Chinook Wawa, and it's a jargon or a mix of several different languages that's used throughout the film. So that the person in this scene, the Native American consultant in this scene, is speaking that language. And actually, there's several moments in the film where people are speaking that language. It's a real language. So I don't know. I just think that's really fucking cool.
It's great. I love Lily Gladstone, and I think it was almost criminal to have her in such a small role because she can really do anything.
Hell yes. Wait, who's Lily Gladstone?
The translator in the movie, so
Oh
translating
yeah.
between
Yeah, I liked her performance too.
yeah, and she also meant, or I believe she or the other guy mentioned how like if you really like beaver so much, you should try beaver tail. It's actually quite delicious. Just another way that like beaver was so valuable, but like one of the most valuable parts of the beaver wasn't even being used by Englishmen.
Yeah, Lou brings that up as well about the glands of them and how they're used for something in his native country that, you know, the oil could be used, like could be so lucrative. Obviously, that's how Lou thinks. But he also mentions that most of the trappers don't know or don't care, and they just leave it to rot in the wilderness.
Yeah,
Another
the movie.
theme of, you know, sort of wastefulness.
So then the factor mentions his cow after he provides the captain with some tea and says, "Would you like some cream?" and pours him cream from this dainty little dish. And it says, "Oh, I've got a cow. I've got a lovely cow, and it's full of well, she produces so little milk these days." He says that.
Which is just like, oh God, oh,
It's like, get the fuck out of there, guys! Run, run, Cookie! Count the exits. So they all go on a walk to meet this cow, and the cow is very friendly to Cookie, and it's very sweet.
It's very sweet, but he's like, bitch, not now.
yeah.
It's like later.
That scene is like a masterclass in tension, and like there's still comedic elements in it, but like it is so tense. Again, this is all about milk and puff pastries and cute like little things, but it's the stakes are fucking high.
Yes.
A line that I wanted to bring up, or a part on their walk out to see the cow, the general and Factor are talking about the fashion, which we had mentioned, but they talk about what are the colors du jour, you know, and what are the women wearing, and like that becomes, you know, he's like, they're not really into. They're really into the empire silhouette with visible corsets, and they're, you know, kind of just randomly talking shop about life in Europe, which kind of also comes back to like they don't really care about where they are and like the beauty of where they are. It's all about the, you know, what's vogue in Paris this season,
Also,
which is a very funny thing for two like macho men to be talking about as well. Is funny.
well, they're talking about it because of capitalism, of course. They're not talking
True,
about
yeah.
it because they care about the color du jour or whatever.
I think Factor might care about the colors du jour.
Oh, interesting. Let's unpack that. No,
He seemed real keen. He was very interested.
well, yeah, I think it was like, what's the trend? How do we capitalize on it? And another thing that like leads to this theme of waste is like the colors du jour, the trends in Paris shift so quickly that sometimes the trends don't even make it over to the Americas.
Yeah.
So like keeping up with these fashion trends is kind of hard and ends up creating waste, which we still have on our current, modern apparel industry today.
Yeah, imagine where fast fashion takes like 6 months for it to cross the sea, and they're like, "Hey, beavers, we like beavers," and then they're like, "Okay, start shipping those beaver pelts." It's like almost a year later, and some lady in Paris is like, "Oh, beavers are so last season after this
Yeah.
creature died to have its pelt shipped across the Atlantic."
Yeah.
Another thing that might be worth noting is at the beginning when Cookie comes back from his first trip and earns his cut of the take, he uses it to buy a pair of boots, and you see his old pair of boots. They look the exact same. They're the same pair of boots. It's just the old ones had a hole in them, and he was buying new ones to replace them purely on function.
I think that was a symbol of the start of a new journey.
I think more than one thing can be true.
That's what I had in my notes, is like he buys new boots. Clearly the start of a new journey.
Sam So if I take one more step, Cookie, will be the farthest I've ever been from oily cakes.
All right. We gotta
Yeah, let's
circle
keep this
back,
moving.
circle the wagons. We gotta keep going.
Okay, so they leave the estate after they talk to the cow, and they don't get their heads cut off. They go back to. Lucas looks like he wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Go ahead, brother.
This part gave me so much anxiety because after this super tense situation, Cookie comes back from it realizing like, oh shit, this is risky business, and like I am starting to understand the stakes at large or whatever. And Lou's just like, this idiot, he doesn't know shit. We were right there. The cow was sniffing like all up in your business, and he didn't recognize anything. Let's capitalize. And that made me really.
He also pulls the heist thing where he's like, just one more job, Cookie. Just one last job and we're done. We're home free, baby. We can start heading south as soon as we milk this cow one last time.
That's literally what he says. He says, we're just gonna do it one more time and we'll be set. We have enough money to go south and get the fuck out of here. We'll never have
and your stomach just drops when you hear this, because you're like, like this moment, like that first image of the skeletons, and you just like, no guys, no, it sucks. I was like, I didn't think, I was like, maybe she'll subvert my expectations, but I knew it was heading there, and I was so sad when I realized, I'm like, no guys, don't go milk the cow again.
But hey, so at least Cookie gets to say goodbye to his cow friend. They go back to the estate afterwards to milk the cow. They do the same routine where Cookie hoists Lou up into the tree, and then he goes up to the cow, pets her, makes sure she's calm. And while they're doing that, there's footage of one of the house hands, somebody who works for Factor, walking around, sort of taking care of the home and getting ready for bed. But then a cat runs out of the house, and he grabs a lantern and goes and tries to find the cat outside. Lou sees the light go outside, makes the owl noise, just like that.
It didn't even show up.
It did not make a sound.
Are you fucking?
He hoo-hoos, and then the tree branch. That's pretty good. Yeah, and then the tree branch snaps. Yeah, and then the jig is up. They're cooked.
Lou falls to the ground, and the first thing Cookie does is runs and checks on him. He doesn't try to get out of there. He runs up to his friend and says, "Hey, are you okay? Is everything good with you?" The person who went outside to try and find the cat immediately bolts back inside, gets everybody awake, and says, "There's people out there. Grab your guns." So they all grab their guns and run outside while Lou and Cookie run away. They get chased.
It's very dramatic. He's like, "We're surrounded." Like, it makes it sound like there's like some outlaw troop out there, like ready to like blast down their doors, but it's just Cookie and Lou.
There's a juxtaposition in the reaction to the crime, almost like today. So they run away. They get chased through the forest. They come up to a cliff face. This is all implied that it's in the night, but Kelly Reichardt has mentioned that they had to shoot a lot during the day and make it look like night. Either way, it looks fucking gorgeous. They make it to a cliff, and Cookie says, or not Cookie, sorry, Lou says, "We got to jump," and jumps into the river and starts swimming away. Cookie doesn't jump because I don't know, I guess he's scared.
He's more cautious.
Sweet boy.
He's more cautious.
He's not. He's risk averse.
Lou is a jump in head first.
Lou is a type A personality.
Yeah,
he's a Wall Street broker. So Cookie hides. They see Lou in the river and chase after him. Cookie tries to run away, slips, falls, and hits his head. We then see Lou find a canoe near a river and introduces himself to the owner of it. The owner speaks this Chinook Wawa language that is spoken throughout the movie. Apparently, Orion Lee, the actor who plays King Lou, learned the language for this part. And which was a surprise to the crew. They were like, "You didn't need to do that." He's like, it's chill. I got you. And he speaks to the person who owns the canoe, and I can't understand what they're saying. I didn't have subtitles on either. I don't know if the subtitles work for that part. But
there were no subtitles.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, Lou pulls all the metal buttons off of his shirt and some of the non-metal ones and offers those as currency to get canoed downriver, which he does. And then he goes back to the cabin. And then we cut back to Cookie, who was saved by some locals in the forest. They put a bandage on his head and let him rest in their bed in their cabin. And I think this is the weakest part of the movie, these scenes with Cookie in the cabin. Not a whole lot happens. I don't know. But there is
I think it's metaphorical. Like, not it actually happens, but so that you have this husband and wife performing their domestic duties, sort of as if Cookie doesn't exist, and that's him and Lou. And then when he tries to leave the safety of his home, he sees two wolves, and those are the men chasing him. And he retreats back into the domestic, into the safe place, because that's really who he is and what he knows how to do. He doesn't know how to be a man on the run. He only knows how to be this person, safe and sound and cozy, making oily cakes with his friend.
Oh,
I'd agree with that.
yeah, that's spot on. I like that. Yeah, I think the metaphor of like Cookie being confronted with the fearfulness of the outside world when he goes out and runs into the wolves is obvious. But yeah, tying that into it's not in his nature. He's forced into this, and he retreats back into this domestic cocoon is really salient. I like that. So yeah, that's what happens, and then he gets up the next day and just walks away.
He goes and he sees the cow, and this to me was the saddest part of the film. Seeing that cow in that like 2 foot by 2 foot pen, that was fucking rough. That was harsh. That cow deserves better than that.
I thought it was
Also-
I thought it was a huge misdirection. I thought he was like, oh, in for a penny, in for a pound. Like, I am like Lou now. I'm gonna steal this fucking cow. I thought that's what was about to happen.
Oh no.
He rides it off in the sunset.
Dude, I thought it was about to happen. I was like, no, Cookie, don't go back for the cow. What are you doing?
No, I think that shows Cookie's tenderness. Cookie wanted to make sure that the cow was okay, I think. Like, which is so funny because I think in the last scene, Lou was even like, yo, like, get another bucket of milk. That's another, like 75 pounds or however much money
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
He's just trying to exploit him while Cookie is like, he's bleeding out and he's like, how's my baby cat?
I think it's also reasonable that he doesn't know where the fuck he is. Like, he's just stumbling
True.
around. Like, he just hit his head and he's like, oh shit, I know where I am.
True, could definitely be that.
Lou is back at the cabin and he finds the bag of money that they've stashed in a tree. He tries to get it, can't quite. And when he fails to get the bag of money, the people who are chasing them show up and ransack the place. He hides. They don't find him, but they ransack his cabin. They don't find the bag of money either. And then they kind of just fuck off. And Lou, he finds the whisk that Cookie had used earlier, the makeshift whisk, just lying on the floor.
The domestic dream is shattered.
Yeah,
it's over.
This brilliant device is just tossed on the floor and forgotten. So much value is wasted. It's a very somber moment, a very low point for the movie. But Lou gets the bag of money, and I think what happens next is Cookie comes back to the cabin as well, and they run into each other.
Yes. And I had something to say.
Oh, let's hear it.
I'm sorry. Lou is an opportunist. I don't think Lou was ever trying to find Cookie. I think Lou came back for the money. Lou saw the whisk, was like, oh, that's not a okay.
That's not a hot take.
Okay, well, how dare you, Lou?
I agree.
I think okay. Well, then this might be an even more hot take in terms of like the coded queerness stuff. I at first thought it was going to be a coded queerness between both of them. I think maybe Cookie's character was gay and Lou's character was, as he constantly stated, just taking when the taking is good because he likes to hop on the opportunity.
We'll get to that. In fact, we're almost there. I wrote this down in my notes as a point that I wanted to respond to you earlier.
Yeah, there's like 4 more minutes of the film at this point. So
yeah, so they meet up with each other, and they decide to run away together. There's middle fingers being pointed at people right now for our audio only viewers, which is everyone. So they run away. Cookie still has a wound on his head, and it's clearly he's struggling he's dizzy and tripping over things. And they wander through the forest, and then a brilliant editing decision. The whole movie's full of brilliant editing. But one very, very, very brilliant editing decision is while they're wandering through the forest, there's one shot where earlier on in the movie, Mitch had brought up that one kid who didn't get an oily cake because he was cut in line, and he's the guy who watches after the cow. There's one shot while they're wandering through the forest where he shows up with a rifle, and it's implied that he's looking at them via the Kuleshov effect. And then it cuts back to Cookie and Lou walking through the forest. And now the whole rest of the movie is recontextualized because in the back of your head, you're thinking, oh, he found them. A guy with a gun who wants to find them has found them. And
well, there was also a shot earlier too when Cookie hit his head and he was watching his face off in the river. The kid was there. And this is before he's seen the cow. He's gone back for the cow. And at this point I saw he like let him go. And I was like relieved. I had this like wave of relief. And then when you see him the next time when they're together, it was instant just hit in the stomach. Just
like
no.
the tension. It's like, oh god damn it. Fuck. Yeah. It's pretty emotionally intense for a movie as cute as First Cow, I think. But it's brilliant. I fucking love it. Anyway, they're walking through the forest, and then the final parts of the movie happen where Cookie gets really dizzy, falls over, lies down. Lou says, "We can't rest here. It's not a good place to rest." But Cookie's not getting up. He's dizzy. He might be unconscious. It's implied. And then something happens that is relevant to what Lucas was mentioning before. Lucas, you said earlier that you think Lou is shady.
Yeah.
There's a shot right at the end where Cookie's lying on the ground incapacitated, probably unconscious, possibly dead. And Lou, holding the bag of money, looks down at the bag of money as if he's thinking about just running away with it. But he doesn't. What he does instead is he puts the bag of money on the ground and lays next to Cookie.
Lucas is pissed because he knows you're right. He looks pissed, but he knows you're right.
No, I just think that he wanted a little rest. But like, let's be honest, y'all.
No,
Cookie was not going to survive.
You're totally ignoring the subtext. You're totally ignoring the subtext.
Was there two or one skeletons at the beginning?
There's two.
There's two.
Wait, say that again.
Are there two or one skeletons at the beginning?
Oh yeah, there's two.
Yeah, because friendship's eternal.
he literally holds his hand, and the last words of the film are, "I've got you."
Oh.
And then it cuts to black, bro. Like that, there's no, like, it's not like you're reading it. This isn't subjective. This is like, he made this decision.
I'm not saying Lou, ran away with the money. I'm just saying the fact that he didn't leave then and there doesn't mean that when Lou woke up from his nap, he wasn't going to leave.
You're in denial.
What's the other skeleton?
Lou.
Oh, yeah. So you're saying he did die, but he was going to ditch him. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's still open-ended. Like, I think Lou values the friendship with Cookie, but at the same time, he's an opportunist. And, like, I honestly think at the end of it all, like, this Russian that he killed was that Russian essentially his past Cookie, and he just moves from Cookie to Cookie to Cookie because he's off of that opportunity. Like, I
don't think the film's as nihilistic as that. Yeah, I don't think it's not nihilistic. I think you're jaded, bro. You're jaded.
Yeah. Because people like Cookie get taken advantage of, unfortunately.
They do, but they also make friends sometimes.
Yeah, they sometimes make friends.
And sometimes they don't.
Yeah, the movie does end right there. It's ambiguous, as a lot of Kelly Reichardt's endings are. A complete denial of conclusion, resolution. It's up to you to think about or speculate on what you think happens. First Cow, that's the movie. I fucking love it. I love First Cow. I think it's a great movie. What did you guys think? Any final thoughts before you want to go on to like rating?
No, I'm ready for ratings. And yeah, I mean, my final thought, I really liked it. It really sweet, very tender. Yeah, big thumbs up for me on this one.
Yeah, I would say I liked it. I thought it was beautifully shot. I thought it was fun. It was almost like this assignment where it was like take something small, something that in our current day seems small and inconsequential, and make it into like the highest stakes possible. And I really liked what they did with it.
That's Kelly Reichardt's MO. If you enjoy that, you should check out her other movies. You should check out her other movies regardless. She is a extremely talented filmmaker.
I will say though that this, as someone who loves slow burns, this was too slow and felt
This
like
is so ironic.
sometimes.
I cannot believe you're saying this right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know
Lucas does
we
not like
will
slow
get to
burn.
Suspiria, but to be honest, this felt longer than Suspiria, even
Suspiria
though it
is not a
runs
slow burn.
1 hour and 45 minutes.
Suspiria is not a slow burn. Suspiria is a fire hose of bullshit.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We clearly have to talk about that next, but we should wrap up with our ratings.
Yeah.
Round the horn. Ben, it's your movie. You give us your rating.
8 out of 10. I love First Cow. Thank you, Kelly Reichardt, for making such an excellent movie.
Are you gesturing to me? Okay. Yeah, I really like this film. I would say it's a really solid 8 out of 10 for me. Would definitely recommend, would watch it again. Very, very good.
For me, I would say this is a 6 out of 10. It is good. It's beautiful to watch. It was a little slow, and then at the end, it left me wanting more from the movie.
All right.
Solid.
Pee breaks. I had to pee through most of that review.